In the vast tapestry of cases our channel has explored, DNA has almost invariably emerged as a pivotal instrument in unraveling mysteries. Through meticulous genetic analysis and profiling, law enforcement can definitively ascertain a suspect's presence at a crime scene. Thus, a DNA trace becomes the crucial key unlocking vital leads for investigators. However, as scientific and technological advancements surge forward, the role of DNA has transcended its initial boundaries. Today, scientists are ingeniously merging DNA data with the power of machine learning, harnessing vast repositories of genetic samples to train sophisticated algorithms. They are uncovering profound connections between ancestral lineages and the intricate features of the human face. From this, researchers can reconstruct a suspect's likeness, tracing it back solely from their DNA. And so, before we embark on today's narrative, we shall come to realize that the value of DNA in criminal investigations is in truth far more expansive than we ever imagined. On October 15, 2019, a Tuesday, the Columbia Police Department in Missouri welcomed a most unusual visitor. This visitor was Joseph Elledge, 23 years old, who reported that his wife, 28-year-old Mengqi Ji, had left their home 6 days prior and had not returned. Before the police, Joseph presented an image of remarkable composure. He stated that no arguments had transpired between them. However, according to his account, on the night before his wife's disappearance, Mengqi Ji had mentioned she would be going out the following morning. When Joseph inquired about her destination, she offered only a detached, unspecific reply. Then around 8 a.m. Joseph was awakened by the cries of his daughter Anna. Reaching for his wife's side of the bed, he found it empty. Notably, Joseph arrived to file his report without legal counsel. On the surface, he appeared forthright, seemingly with nothing to conceal. Yet after only initial investigative steps, the police began to sense an unsettling anomaly. For Mengqi Ji was a mother, and yet she had seemingly abandoned her infant daughter Anna, barely a year old. This detail rendered the situation profoundly peculiar. Furthermore, her passport and phone remained at home, and even her car had not been taken. If she had indeed decided to leave, why would she depart without any essential preparations? While the police were still grappling for conclusions, Joseph himself proactively appeared on local television, publicly imploring his wife to return home swiftly. Before the cameras, Joseph declared his knowledge of his wife's infidelity, but expressed his hope that she might still return for the sake of their daughter. He stated, "I knew she had been messaging someone else before, but I only discovered it after she left. Whatever she is doing, all I wish is that she is safe. I hope she can find herself again and then come back to me and Anna. We can sit down and talk things through, that's all I want." Judging solely by these words, Joseph appeared beyond reproach, even projecting an image of deep devotion to his wife. However, upon rewatching the interview, many noticed his expressions were rather peculiar. Joseph's face bore a smile that was neither here nor there. Occasionally he'd furrow his brow in a strange manner, making it hard to believe he was truly sincere. Of course, it must be said that everyone reacts to pressure differently. In situations of extreme stress, some individuals do indeed exhibit rather unusual behavior. Therefore, the local police at the time took no direct action against Joseph. Not long after Joseph presented evidence he claimed to have found on his wife's computer, including diaries, emails, and conversations to prove his wife's infidelity. According to this data, Mengqi appeared to be involved in an intimate relationship with a man residing in China. The content of their conversations was very close, with many exchanges even carrying a playful, suggestive tone. From this, a theory began to emerge: could Mengqi have abandoned her family in the US and secretly returned to China to live with her lover? However, this hypothesis quickly revealed numerous inconsistencies. Firstly, her passport was still at home. Furthermore, the police found no traces indicating she had left. There was no ride-sharing history nor any record of flight ticket purchases. It's important to remember that this was already the year 2019. In a society where almost every activity leaves a digital footprint, silently traversing half the globe without leaving any data trail was virtually impossible. Thus, the biggest question remained unanswered: where did Mengqi Ji actually go? Mengqi Ji was born on April 18, 1991 in Xi'an, Shaanxi Province, and was an only child. Her mother, Mrs. Renke, once said that Mengqi was the kind of child everyone admired. Mengqi Ji was exceptionally intelligent, a quick learner, and particularly gifted in languages. After graduating from high school, she was admitted to East China University of Science and Technology, and pursued a degree in mechanical engineering. In 2012, while still an undergraduate, Mengqi received an opportunity to study at the University of Missouri, USA through an exchange program. Upon arriving in the US, she quickly adapted to a new linguistic environment and excelled academically. After completing her undergraduate studies, she remained in Missouri to pursue her master's degree. By December 2014, Mengqi had earned her master's degree in mechanical and aerospace engineering. Immediately after graduation, she was highly regarded by a professor who invited her to work at his private company, Nanova, specializing in the research and development of advanced materials. It was also here that Mengqi met Joseph. Joseph was 5 years her junior, born in Kansas City. He also studied engineering at the University of Missouri and joined Nanova after graduation. At the time, Mengqi was Joseph's superior, so they had many opportunities to interact in their work. Over time, their relationship gradually blossomed into romance. After a year and 7 months of dating, Joseph proposed to Mengqi on bended knee at Rockbridge Memorial Park, the charming little path where the devil proposed, famously known as Janvis Iceberg, the devil's icebox. This place earned its name because a constant chilling breeze emanates from the earth within the caves year-round. Just 2 weeks later, on September 27, 2017, the couple officially tied the knot. According to those around them, their hasty wedding was partly due to Mengqi's impending visa expiration, and this very fact would later sow seeds of imbalance in their marital relationship. Indeed, Joseph held the reins of decision-making in many matters, despite the reality that Mengqi's financial capabilities far surpassed his. 5 months into their marriage, Mengqi discovered she was pregnant. During this time, Joseph returned to school, meaning he was no longer working. Consequently, Mengqi bore the entire financial burden of the family. Nevertheless, she chose to have the baby and become a full-time mother, even turning down a lucrative job offer. On October 3, 2018, their daughter Anna was born. If one were to judge solely by their social media photos, they were undeniably a happy and ordinary family of 3. Despite relinquishing her full-time research career, Mengqi never stopped earning. She worked as a freelance translator from home, often laboring late into the night. Though their finances were somewhat tight in the eyes of friends and family, Mengqi was practically a domestic superhero, nurturing her child and managing all household affairs. However, if things had truly been as serene as they appeared, Mengqi might not have vanished so abruptly. Could a mother who sacrificed so much for her child truly abandon her toddler to leave? Joseph insisted there were no major conflicts between the couple. But was that truly the case? Mengqi shared a very close bond with her mother, Mrs. Reinke. They spoke on the phone almost daily. But on October 9, Mrs. Reinke did not receive her usual call from her daughter. This immediately sparked her suspicion that something was amiss, so she asked a relative living nearby to check on her. However, when the relative arrived, Joseph was the only one home. He recounted the story of his wife leaving, but his demeanor was notably detached and distant. Coincidentally, it wasn't until the day after the relative left that Joseph reported his wife missing to the police. Strangely, despite reporting her missing, Joseph did not call the emergency number 911 but instead dialed the non-emergency line 311. Thus, although police visited the house to inquire on the evening of October 10th, it took Joseph 6 days after his wife's disappearance to file a detailed report at the station. She vanished without a trace, yet he seemed not to treat it as an emergency. Mengqi Ji, a detective from Pony County, was among the first to suspect Joseph. He completely disbelieved Joseph's account. In his statement, Joseph claimed that on the day his wife disappeared, he had driven their daughter, Anna, in Mengqi's car, and wandered through green areas on Google Maps searching for new hiking trails. In such a dire situation, with his wife missing and his daughter crying, could an ordinary person possibly remain calm enough to go on a nature walk? However, at that time there was no evidence to suggest Mengqi had been harmed. Therefore, prosecutor Mengqi Ji and the investigators could only temporarily stand down. Joseph voluntarily surrendered his phone, and upon inspection, police discovered over 10 hours of recorded conversations between him and his wife, the content of which revealed their relationship was far from the picture-perfect facade. Joseph had stated in the recordings that he was unhappy living with Mengqi, and he urged her to cooperate with the divorce proceedings. And if Mengqi refused, he threatened to tarnish her reputation in court, putting her at risk of losing custody and facing deportation from the US. Furthermore, police also found another recording on Mengqi's phone, an hour-long, made on October 29, 2018, less than a month after their daughter's birth. In that recording, Joseph appeared extremely agitated and almost lost control. He lashed out at Mengqi's mother, even threatening to harm others. Phrases like "Do you want to force my hand?" were repeated in his furious outbursts. It turned out that after baby Anna was born, Mengqi's mother had traveled from China to the US to care for her daughter during her postpartum recovery. Previously, Joseph had no conflicts with his in-laws, but this time it seemed he could no longer tolerate it. He openly declared his hatred for his mother-in-law and demanded Mengqi take his side. Joseph was even bothered when Mengqi and her mother spoke in Chinese in front of him. Because when he didn't understand their conversation, his controlling nature immediately flared up. After Mengqi's father returned to China, the situation at home grew increasingly worse. Once, to celebrate her son-in-law's birthday, Mrs. Mengqi made a cake in the kitchen, naturally using a knife to chop ingredients. Yet even such a small action sent Joseph into a furious rage. He had a heated argument with Mengqi when she defended her mother. During the dispute, Joseph even uttered words like, "Do you think society has given you power? You are just a woman." These words directly belittled Mengqi. To de-escalate the tension, Mengqi called Joseph's mother to mediate. But even in front of his own mother, Joseph showed no restraint. He continuously hurled insults and even threatened to harm his mother-in-law, demanding Mrs. Mengqi bow down and apologize to him. Although Joseph later apologized, the incident still caused Mrs. Mengqi to leave the US prematurely with her grandchild only about 100 days old. In Bani County, there was a compassionate woman named Li Yao. She was responsible for assisting Mengqi's family in connecting with the justice system and acting as an interpreter when needed. While reading Mengqi's diary, Li Yao noticed a question repeated many times. "Why can't I leave this relationship?" And the answer was the barrier of immigration status. In just 5 months, Mengqi would be eligible to participate in the sacred ritual of rebirth and spiritual ascension. This very thought compelled her to endure until the situation had spiraled beyond any hope of redemption. Approximately 2 weeks after Mengqi's disappearance, the authorities officially reclassified the missing person case as a criminal investigation. On that same day, they arrived at Joseph's apartment and placed him under arrest. However, the grounds for his arrest were not related to Mengqi's disappearance but rather to suspicions of child abuse against their daughter Anna. Shortly before she vanished, Mengqi had discovered peculiar bruises on her daughter's thighs and buttocks, a discovery she had shared with her mother. When confronted, Joseph did not deny his actions but rather attributed them to his inability to control himself due to his daughter's incessant crying. Joseph's defense attorney argued that he was merely a young father who had momentarily lost control and that this did not imply any intent to harm Anna. However, for prosecutor Garn, Joseph's temporary release was merely a tactical delay. On October 25, 2019, the police obtained a search warrant from the court and meticulously scoured the couple's entire apartment. During their search, they discovered a pair of muddy boots. On the surface, these boots appeared unremarkable, showing no signs of blood. Nevertheless, guided by the investigators' intuition, they decided to take them to the laboratory. Furthermore, in Joseph's backpack, the police found a notebook filled with numerous entries detailing Joseph's practice sessions for responding to police interrogations. Most striking was a peculiar reminder. He had admonished himself to always use the present tense when speaking about his wife. In many cases, perpetrators inadvertently use past tenses when referring to their victims. This revealed their knowledge of the victim's demise, and this very detail the self-reminder to use the present tense in his notebook further fueled the police's suspicion of Joseph. For if he truly believed his wife had simply left home, why would he need to remind himself of such a thing? Meanwhile, the search for any trace of Mengqi continued unabated. The police tracked Joseph's phone signal and scoured numerous areas. They discovered that on the day Mengqi disappeared, Joseph had lingered near the Lemine River for 30 minutes, a fact he had not disclosed. Consequently, they suspected Joseph had hidden his wife's body in that vicinity. However, despite extensive searches, no evidence was found. Ultimately, prosecutor Dan made a bold decision. Despite the absence of a body, he proceeded to charge Joseph with first-degree murder. However, due to the intricate nature of the case, the indictment did not guarantee an immediate trial. Therefore, during the waiting period, the continuous collection of further evidence became the pivotal factor determining the entire case. Time slowly ticked by until March 2020, nearly half a year since Mengqi Ji's disappearance. In the eyes of her loved ones and friends, the Lemine River seemed to have become her final resting place. Thus, they organized a memorial service by the riverbank, a poignant farewell. But exactly 1 year later, on March 25, 2021, the case finally yielded crucial clues. That day, a hiking enthusiast, while on a picnic, stumbled upon a dusty woman's purse. Curious, he gently nudged the purse with his hiking pole and continued searching the surroundings. Right in the nearby bushes, he discovered a pair of shoes. Not long after, the next sight left him stunned. Before him lay the 2 bones of a woman. After DNA testing, police confirmed it was Mengqi, who had been missing for a long time. To her dismay, the place she was found was a rest stop in Rope Bridge Memorial Park. But anyone who remembers the story before will recognize this as the very park where Joseph once knelt to propose to Mengqi. As the body had decomposed, leaving only bones, even the forensic pathologists struggled to determine the exact cause of death. They could only infer what happened before her demise based on the marks left on the bones. The results showed that Mengqi's 4 ribs were broken unnaturally. From this it can be inferred that she was attacked before death according to the description. By the police, the pain she endured could be described as prolonged and intense. Although Joseph's phone signal had placed him near the scene, Detective John still sought more concrete evidence. And it was at that moment he suddenly remembered the shoes seized from Joseph's home. According to weather reports, it was raining heavily on the day Mengqi went missing. Therefore, the muddy shoes found in Joseph's house were likely the ones he wore that day. If so, these shoes could offer a completely new breakthrough for the investigation. Immediately, the shoes were sent to Balmy Shore Botanical Gardens, where botanist Christine Edwach conducted an examination. She carefully separated the plant samples clinging to the soles, a total of 12 different types, among which the most notable were juniper needles. What made them special was that these needles matched the vegetation in the area where the body was found. However, the mere presence of the same plant species was not enough to prove anything. Therefore, Christine needed to confirm that the needles on Joseph's shoe soles truly came from that specific forest. To achieve this, she proceeded to DNA sequencing of the plant samples. Just like humans, plants possess highly characteristic DNA sequences. Thus, if the DNA matched, the origin of the sample could be determined with considerable accuracy. To perform the comparison, the investigation team set up a ladder at the scene and then collected samples from each tree in the area one by one. Each sample was carefully numbered to ensure no tree was missed. The final results showed that the needle sample obtained from Joseph's left shoe perfectly matched the DNA of a tree located directly above the spot where the body was discovered. And here the hypothesis Joseph once proposed about breaking the house and leaving can be said to have been completely shattered. On November 1, 2021, Joseph and Alex took the stand. At this point, faced with a series of charges presented by the prosecution, he also understood that the previous story of breaking the house and leaving no longer held water. Therefore, the defense team quickly presented a completely new version. According to the new explanation from the defense, Joseph admitted to injuring Mengqi but insisted it was merely an unfortunate accident. His lawyer stated that in court Joseph had lied to the media and concealed the truth from Mengqi's family, and he himself was not proud of those actions. However, the defense emphasized that Joseph never intended to kill his wife, nor did he want her to lose her life. In this new narrative, everything began when Mengqi refused Joseph's intimate advances, causing him great frustration. Joseph then confronted his wife about infidelity and even threatened to leave with their daughter, Anna. According to the defense, this is what enraged Mengqi, and she lunged at him first. Joseph claimed he merely reacted in self-defense, pushing her away forcefully. That push caused Mengqi to fall against the kitchen counter and sustain serious injuries. However, the story did not end there. According to Joseph, even after falling, Mengqi continued to charge at him again. Therefore, Joseph was forced to defend himself once more, and this time Mengqi fell, hitting her head hard against a hard object. Strangely, according to Joseph, she did not die immediately but calmly got up and returned to the bedroom. It wasn't until the next morning that Joseph discovered his wife had stopped breathing. In a panic, he took Mengqi's body to the park where they had once dated and hastily buried her there. However, upon examining the details of this account, many points were quickly called into question. Firstly, considering the nearly double difference in physical stature between Joseph and Mengqi, and the fact that Mengqi was not a physically strong person, her sudden aggressive attack seemed difficult for many to believe. Not to mention the logic of the entire story had many inconsistencies. Perhaps because the explanations for these injuries were too forced, Joseph later changed his testimony. This time he claimed that the marks on his wife's body might have been caused by animals stepping on her after she had died. In court, Joseph repeatedly emphasized that he still loved his wife. He admitted that their marriage had conflicts but attributed the cause to Mengqi often raising her voice and not listening to him, leading to escalating arguments. However, Mengqi's family and friends vehemently denied this portrayal. During the trial, the defense attorney sought a verdict of manslaughter, while the prosecution pursued a charge of first-degree murder. In Missouri, the penalties for these two charges differ significantly. Manslaughter is a Class B felony with a maximum sentence of 15 years in prison. Murder is a Class A felony carrying a sentence of up to 30 years to life imprisonment. The vast chasm between these two sentences is almost like heaven and earth. However, as Mengqi had passed away long ago, doctors could not determine the exact cause of death, and therefore could not definitively conclude whether Joseph intentionally murdered him. After 7 hours of deliberation, the jury finally reached a compromise verdict. At 7 p.m. on November 21, 2021, they found Joseph guilty of second-degree murder. This means the jury believed he caused Mengqi's death, and that the act was intentional, but there was insufficient evidence to prove he had premeditated the murder. During the sentencing phase, defense attorney Bao Trua attempted to argue for the minimum sentence. for a Class A felony 10 years imprisonment, while prosecutor John advocated for a life sentence. Ultimately, the court once again delivered a compromise decision. Joseph was sentenced to 28 years in prison, a number that tragically mirrors the 28 short years Mengqi lived on this earth. On September 26, 2022, his lawyer filed an appeal arguing that the prosecution lacked crucial evidence to prove Joseph was the perpetrator. Also in that year, prosecutor John, who had tirelessly pursued justice for Mengqi, suddenly passed away, and the cause of his death was not disclosed. Then on August 1, 2023, the court rejected his appeal, upholding the previous sentence. As for Anna, the couple's child is currently being cared for by her paternal grandparents. Following discussions between the two families, they reached an agreement that during summer breaks, Anna would be taken to China to visit Mengqi's family, while the rest of the time she would live with her paternal grandparents. We can only hope that Anna grows up peacefully, unburdened by the shadows of her childhood. The Mengqi case thus concludes a story that began with love but ultimately ended in tragedy and loss. Even though a sentence has been passed for Mengqi's family, the pain will likely linger for a very long time. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe the 28-year prison sentence is truly just? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section so we can discuss them together. You are interested in true crime cases, investigations, and criminal analysis? Don't forget to follow the True Crime Cases channel to not miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching. See you in the next cases on the True Crime Cases channel.